Sawadee my name is Kotchakorn Voraakhom. I'm a landscape architect from Thailand, Bangkok. So if I have to talk about my origin, it should start from the land I grew up with, which is Bangkok. And it's a city of water, and I think not even realize that water is part of life. So I think my origin is actually coming from this land, this amphibious culture, where it's a lot of water and a little water, and it's a lot of rain. It's very hot in tropical climate. So this is me played with the flood. It's probably one of the great flood, which normally come every 10 years, but right now it's so unpredicted. And it was so fun because I don't need to go to school, and I can brought the biggest toy, like a big boat that my dad did for me to play on my parking ground, which is I normally call it my playground. So that's kind of like how I start to relate with my landscape around me. So it's flood, it's a lot of concrete space. I live in a city. Back then, Bangkok is not this big, but it grew so quickly. And when it's come to 2011, which is really the most disastrous flooding in our history, and I think that's kind of shifting how I perceived my city and how I perceive the meaning of flooding, which is really disastrous. And I think that's also still in the memories of the nation. And not just the memory, but it's a memory with fear. So when flooding become disastrous, becomes something not present, not fun, I think that's how I'm thinking as a landscape architect, what can I do? And to understand the whole flooding, you can see that this is the big floodplain that Bangkok was the last city. So the whole watershed, the whole flooding, this water from this map need to go through this city. But Bangkok don't want to get wet. How could that happen? So we flood other people, we flood many other people for months, and we remained Bangkok from getting wet. So as part of the people who is not impact from flooding physically, but the surrounding and the whole city around Bangkok was shut down. I think Bangkok is not an island. We are part of this watershed system. So it's really made me think about this event and about how can we survive this city and what is the meaning of equity in this flooding or in this climate change. So Bangkok is a delta city. So delta city is a city that located between water and land, like oceans and the whole floodplains, and then including the mountains and then the land. So it's territorial to this cycle of water. And the delta city is mainly impact to many dynamics. And Bangkok used to be called the city of three waters, which is the water from the north, which is annual flooding, which is the whole watershed have to come through this delta city. The second water is rain. And in this region of the world, it's pouring rain. And Thailand's rain from 6 to 4 months per year. The last factor of the water is sea level rise, which is the thing that depend on the dynamic. Kind of many things are somewhat interconnected, but when all these three water interplay, when it's a lot of rain, when it's flooding coming during like September, October, and then the sea level rise, the tidal zone is coming. That's how the Delta city become really problematic because the urbanization. So only with the city and then the dynamic of natural change is very good for agriculture. And our root as a city, as a culture, as a Thai is agriculture. This is the best land to grow food for the world, but it's the worst place to situate the city. And when I talk about city, it's the land-based city. It's not the water-based city that we used to be, like amphibious culture. So as I mentioned that I grew up with water as part of life. Water is life. And I grew up seeing the dynamic of exchange and not even realize that this is part of me, part of the culture I grew up, part of who I am as a person and as a designer. And when after that disastrous in 2011, I established my practice called Landprocess in the next year. And we established Landprocess because we want to compete for the competition. So in 2012, we want to compete for the competition. It's called Chulalongkorn Centenary Park. So we established our practice. Back then, it's only myself and fresh graduate from undergrad at Chula, like 4 of them, I still remember. So 5 of us, part of the team, compete for this competition. And of course, we just kind of like woke up from the nightmare of the great flooding last year. So I just feel that this is such an opportunity for us to use this chance to establish how can city be built and not be fear of water. How can the development become a solution for climate change? And I think that's how it's very not planned, kind of like how I involved in this water management, but it's just like a calling from the experience, from who we are, from who we were, and from how we growing up with as a designer from this land. And I think that's how we designed Chulalongkorn Centenary Park. And luckily, we won. So when we start our first public project to establish in this city, and it's become a public park that combating, mitigating flooding, and the park itself equipped with many landscape-based solutions that helping the city contain more water. And I think it's very simple, right? This is what we want to do. And automatically, when the park finished in 2017, and back then, the word nature-based solutions hasn't been well established like today. So the park itself becomes such a pioneer project to talk about how we can shift and then design the urban context to tackle the climate change, especially in the sense of flooding. And I think that's how we unintentionally start to get our design involved in a bigger system of water management. Like, of course, this is our first park. How do we know that this is like the right solution? But it was, and it still is that we have to think about the city more and how can the city be part of the water solution. And with the design that equipped with green roof, wetland, and detention pond, and so many landscape-based solutions. So when the park finished, no one talks about it. Like people don't get it. Like why this park have to incline? Why this park have to looking so strange, right? This is the first new park in 30 years of Bangkok. We haven't had park, and we are kind of like 15 million people population like city, which is big. So in 2019, Mr. Antonio Guterres came, which is the UN secretary, came to the park. And I just feel like, wow, this must be something that this world leader who's talking about climate change and want to tackle these problems came to the park to give the support to the local initiate or to this local design. So I just feel that wow, this park is not just the park; it's actually contain one of the keywords that the city need to adapt. And you can see from this image that this is like different. Seems like it's coming from one place of these flooding images, but it's actually coming from different place. This image is actually from Jakarta, Manila, Bangkok, and we are actually in the region that most vulnerable when it's come to water, when it's come to sea level rise, when it's come to rain. And there's something about Southeast Asia that we make on the top of the list of the world, which is the most at-risk city when it's come to extreme climate. So as a landscape architect, what can you do? This is still my question, because I can't do other things. I can only design, right? This is what I trained to be. So from the world biodiversity hotspot, we are the most rich, we are the most complex region when it's come to biodiversity, but when it's come to climate change, it's the same place. So I think either we have to save ourselves to help the world, or we have to save ourselves to survive this crisis. So think about a drop of rain when it's coming from the sky and going through forest, mountain, and then drain to topography and then going out to ocean. It sounds very peaceful and very normal, right? But when it is coming to the invisible reality of bureaucrat systems, this drop of rain passing 50 plus departments that deal with water. So the simple drop of water doesn't mean a drop of water. It can mean the royal irrigation, this is the royal rain department, this is underground management, this is drainage of Bangkok, this is wastewater management. It's crazy. And this is the thing that we need to figure out, not just a drop of water, but also the bureaucrat system that giving the meaning of water in different ways and way with plus S. So I think when it's come to the water management, you're not dealing just the water, but you're dealing with the structure of the water governance, a different meanings of how each government sector understand and manage the water. And I think this is very critical to all nations, because this is the case study from how I learned about to manage or to fix the problem of water. It's not just like I contain it and I clean it. But no, if you want to change, this is a systematic thinking. I cannot just like do one park and then claim that this park can save the whole city. This one park cannot save the whole city, but the concept of the park, if it had been replica and replicate to many other development, that can save the city. It's the same as nature-based solution. One nature-based solution, one project couldn't save. And only think about Bangkok, just an island. And don't think about the Thailand as a whole watershed. We're not gonna be able to fix the water problems. So water governance is something that I would encourage every designer to understand. And you understand why the canal is so dirty in my city, because the canal is under the Department of Drainage and Sewage. So we only see canal from that aspect of function. We never see canal as public space. We never see canals as place for transportation, because it's not under Department of Transportation. We never see canal as part of the food systems, because it's not under agriculture. So that's why the canal all in my city is only for drainage. And that's such a big loss for us and for the nation. And when we talk about design the landscape, I think one thing that we need to understand is how we solve the problem of water. We are using a lot of gray infrastructure. We're using a lot of traditional engineer infrastructure. which is okay, which is great. But they're designed in a particular normal condition. But now we are confronting with new normal every year. Like the amount of rain is actually increasing and predict to increase in 2050 in Bangkok. It can increase more than 30% from what we are experiencing right now. How can the city survive more rain? 30% more than we are experiencing right now. Can we also keep remaining fixing the pipe or drench our canal every year? That's not going to be enough. The whole system of the pipe and the canal itself, it can only survive 5 years of the rain return period. But right now we are confronting with 100 years of the rain return period every season twice. So if we only think about great infrastructure, fixing the pipe, do it again, we're not gonna combat this crisis, or we're not gonna equip our city to confront or to become even more resilient to the uncertainty. But we are so scared of the big flood, right? So we either fix something that might not working for us in the future or even now, or we build a big dam to protect us from 1,000 years of rain or 1,000 years of the flood coming. Which is, what about life in between? How can we survive the city and the life in between? What if the 15-year come of the rain return period come? What about 20? What about 30, 50? So I just feel that this is the big chance for us to change our city, and we can shift this to landscape-based solution. The thing that we can do to help the city, only just to think about adding capacity of the pipe for the whole Bangkok from 5 years to 10 years. It's gonna be a crazy construction, and the pipe's gonna get so big. Where can we get that space? And only 10 years is not gonna help us sustain for the uncertainty in the future. That's why we need more innovation. We need more landscape-based solution to tackle this problem, which include what I'm gonna talk about in my projects. I think we are at the point that we adapt or we die. And if we adapt today, it's cheaper than adapt tomorrow, right? So this is urgent. This is an opportunity. And I want to call all the landscape architects and all the built environment profession to really see these problems clearly and asking yourself more, what are we doing now? What are we providing solution for the city? It doesn't mean that we cannot work with great infrastructure. We need to work together on what we have. Okay, let's say Bangkok have 5 years of the rain return period structure of infrastructure. Maybe adding more of these landscape-based solutions can actually help from 5 years to 20 years. But if everyone helping and doing all together, all the waste space on the rooftop can turn into something else. And in Thai, we are very keen on some of this concept. Some other country might call water sensitive design, sponge city, and many more. But for us, we call monkey chic. Monkey chic. Right? The monkey, when it eats its food, it stores the food in its cheeks. And when it's hungry again, it eats it again. That kind of space, that kind of room in the monkey chic is actually something that we need to find more in the city to help the city contain more water. And when it's ready, and you can release more water. But right now, when it's rain, everyone release all the runoff to the pipe that only contains 5 years of the rain return period. And that's not making sense already. Why is flood? Why our city confronting with so much flood? This is one of the answer that we need to see that the gray and green need to work hands in hand. Okay, I will start with our first public park, Chulalongkorn Centenary Park. And it's the first new one in 30 years of the city. And it's actually very simple. What we design, what I think when I design, the first thing is you have to make people understand. And it should be someone who not educated in design to understand this design or this solution. So we are flat. So I incline the whole park so the park can collect more water. And during that inclined topography, we equip with rainwater tank, green roof, wetland, and detention pond. So when it's flood, it's actually designed to flood itself. So this is a very mind shifting that we can live with flood. And if I explain this concept to 6 years old students, they can understand my park. And this is so important to me that it shouldn't be like too complicated. It should be something that everyone easily get the solution. And it can be very simple, like the model, like cut and fill within the site, which is a very basic landscape architecture design. And the park is trying to engage people with water bike. People can bike and help clean up the water. Also, Mr. Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary, also bike with me during his visit as well. So the park is designed for the wet and dry season. So when it's wet, it looks like this. When it's dry, it looks like this. When it's wet and dry, it's have different kind of function. So this is one of the park, and when it's inclined, it's not only just for water, it's actually for people as well, for biodiversity. Like we introduced more than 300 plants. Right now it's growing very quickly. So when you ask me what is the impact, you can see how people use it. You can see that when it's opening from a very small tree in 2019, but only 4 years. This is a big difference. This is the impact, right? This is the thing that really like the urban canopy has grown up, people use it differently, the biodiversity. This is kind of like the first 2 months of the park. This is how it's look right now. So you can see that there are so many factors of the performance of the landscape itself that we can see from the human health, mental health, human experience, the urban shade, the tree, the canopy, the biodiversity that happened. And this is Mr. Antonio Guterres when he came and be part of the water cycle. And I remember our conversation very clearly that I told him Bangkok is sinking faster than the sea level is rising. What's that mean? That means we are going in this direction and the sea level is coming in this direction. And how we're going to survive this city? We need our helps. We need our action that we can do now. Bangkok have a very low public space per capita. Normally, the standard is 9. We're actually around 3 square meters per capita. Singapore is around 66. London is like 27. So you can see that the quality of life here, if you think about public green space as part of the healthy life, this is very low. We have a very low standard of living. So this park also adding on that aspect. And it's such a very popular park because of its location, but because we don't have park for so long and we thrive and we need to have more. And another aspect that you can measure from this park is the urban heat. So from the surrounding areas, the temperature can be very heat up in Bangkok, and we almost touch 50 degrees Celsius. And how can we dwell in this climate? And in the year 2024 is the hottest year on this planet, and also for Bangkok as well. And it's gonna go up. So this park can help lower 4 to 5 degrees Celsius from the surrounding or even from the streetscape, because this park is also including the streetscape and then the rain garden. So thinking when we think about urban heat, we only think about, okay, I have air condition. I can add more insulation from the material of the building. But thinking about people who work outside, who walk outside, who doesn't have privilege or luxurious lifestyle to be indoor, these people are a big part of the city. So adding more of this solution is actually also help with the urban heat, the temperature, the biodiversity, the livelihood, and I'm sure there's many more. And also absorbing the water. This park itself, adding within its boundary, is contain 50 years of the rain return period. Normally, the city have only 5. So this park, with the self-sustain, it can help the city contain more water. So my next strategy is reclaim the Venice of the East. And Venice of the East used to be how the Western during the colonization called this land as like Venice of the East. That means we have a lot of canals and we are amphibious culture. Those Farang or those foreigners call us amphibious. And I think we feel very proud because we can live on land and on water, which is very unique. But nowadays, we lose that ability as a Thai, as a citizen, and as a city. So the cities no longer can maintain that uniqueness because this is how the canals look like. And this is Kotchakorn Voraakhom, which is the CBD of Bangkok. Whatever the most expensive intersection of Sathorn combined, this is the central business of Bangkok. And this is our canal, which is maybe still looking like this, some part of this. And there's so many infrastructure in the city and we have no space for that. So we just put it in the canals, right? So the most basic natural infrastructure hasn't been valued well enough. The land that used to be porous right now is no longer porous anymore. All the water in the city is stagnant, is dirty. And Kotchakorn Canal is one of the most dirtiest canal in town, but it's in the most expensive area of the city. This is me trying to convince our previous governor to fix the canals, and not only just fix, but also connecting it, because to fix the canal is also to fix its flow, its capacity, and the edge that right now is look very gray with all this solution of engineering. So from the Kotchakorn canals, we try to connect the loop of the canal, and we start with this canal because of location of the CBD, and also it's connect to the main river, Chao Phraya River, which is gonna help us also input a good water from the main river. But there is some secret weapon to this canal, which is Kotchakorn wastewater treatment plant at the end of the canal. This treatment plant recycle the wastewater and then produce 140,000 cubic meters per day of the clean water. But now it hasn't been used very well. It just put it back to the river. So if we have a lot of good recycled water every day, we can use it back to charge into our canal systems and make it nicer and cleaner again, dilute the most dirtiest one. So this is the system that not only thinking about one canal, but connect the canals and then connect to the main green space in the city, which is Lumpini Park. Lumpini Park is the first public park in the nation. And maybe a year or two from now, it's gonna celebrate its 100 years. But now the water in the Lumpini Park is rotten. It's because it's stagnant. It's so dirty. Right now, if you go, it's just so green. So with kind of like reconnect all these canals that used to be connected, It's actually gonna help clean the city, help clean the water, and create a loop. And I hope that we haven't finished the loop yet, but this is the first start that the Venice of the East thinking about canal differently, not only thinking about the canal as a drainage. So this is once before, and this is how we want to introduce the way people can use canal for the public use, and using with all that water system engineering, and together with many layers of urban mobility, of walkable city, of more cooling corridor for the whole city, plant more trees, clean more water. This gonna make city healthy. And when you got a healthy city, your health is also will be good, right? We cannot live in a bad city and just be healthy. This is not possible. And of course, all this plan also help with urban heat, PM 2.5, which is, I think, is a big issue for public health in the city, that we need to breathe pollution very intensively twice per year or every day. So this is one of the examples that we use Cheongnan as a strategic canal, and right now it's still continue phase 1 and the phase 3. Of course, all these projects take times, and it's not end in one political term, because political term is only 4 years, 4 years, 4 years. But I hope all this initiative, not only just this canal, but more park, more canals, more public green space, will continue, because we need this, and we need this for the future. This is from the SkyTrain, the existing SkyTrain structure for 40 years. And even in my generation, we don't even know about this structure. And it's called in Thailand Sapan Duan, amputated bridge. Because when we create this Sapan Papok Gao, and we said, okay, let's do this structure because the SkyTrain gonna come. And we're gonna be the first nation in Southeast Asia to got a SkyTrain. When they create this bridge, they create this structure. And then later on, the train going to different route to Sathorn. So it's left unused for 40 years. And now we turn this thing to become the first public park, connect this to existing park across the river in any world capital. So many cities try to do this, but it's not very feasible. But for us, we invest for 40 years already. So this is a very smart way of how we reuse what we have. And I think it's the first bridge that built or rebuilt for the feet. And I think it's become the city landmark. People can walk and bike and also enjoy their time. There's so many shopping malls in my city. There's not enough public green space. And this is the first one that we can enjoy the river. Thinking about being in Bangkok as a citizen, it's so hard for us to get to the edge of the river, because it's either owned by 5-star hotel, shopping mall, or informal settlement. So this is another way to make people access to the river and be part of the landscape. And this is how people count down in Bangkok. We don't have Times Square, but we go count down along the river and see the firework. And the other project is we are working with the government complex in Thailand. Government complex is just like the big White House. All this complex contain 9 ministries. So big ministry of nations actually having office here. And this is normally how the government city look like. It's so square, it's so unhumane. So my question is, how can we make this space more humane? Because all humans are actually living in and working on this space. And this is another big project that used to look like this, a lot of parking space, because no access of the public mass transit to this complex. So around 30,000 officers need to drive or find a way to come to work every day. So we worked on this 10 years ago, and then we realized that the SkyTrain is about to arrive to this complex. And we need to turn all the planning to shift the face, the welcoming area in different place. And it's happened to be on the existing parking space. So we have to convince and we have to working with the whole complex that let's shift our way to come to work, to get to work. And this is really how we can create a low carbon city. So people don't need to use a lot of cars and using public transportation, and also create this kind of green network to make it walkable. So the SkyTrain come, we create this line connecting with this existing kind of ugly parking space, but now have to become like the welcoming area for this White House of Thailand. So we need to work on that green. And then, of course, they still feel that they need parking space. And I said, okay, we can do that, but can you lift the building up so we can making this connection seamlessly from the SkyTrain into the ground and to the main access. So this is 2 years ago, and this is now. And you can see that we use a lot of curve. This is the first time that maybe curve has been introduced in the architecture of the government. And I want it to look more humane and a little bit feminine, like more welcoming. And I think we succeed on doing that. Yes, we succeed on doing that. So people can feel more welcoming approaching to the government complex, to public green space. And also feel that I don't need to drive here. So even with the parking building, which is like the most boring architecture that one can think of, we asked to adjust the facade of the architecture that the rain can detour itself and then be part of creating greens and be part of this green architecture. And the rooftop have urban farming, solar roof, and let the government be a great example and be the great welcoming area. And even on Sky Bridge, we wanted to make it really vivid, fun, and then welcoming. So this is another good way, and this is just one part of the whole master planning. And we are trying to creep all the green to be part of this rigid government complex, to be more green and more human. So I think when we're working with city, and we need to work what we have, and we work a lot with the condition that exists. And you can see the pole, the gold pole, which is just feel like a lot of gold being used here because Bangkok or Thailand representative is like a Suvarnabhumi. We are like the golden land. So a lot of color has been introduced to this complex. And also the rain chain is actually been within the gold color. So people feel like, oh, the water is actually all around us in every details. In terms of leading the fight against climate change, I'm not sure that as a landscape architect, we need to lead this fight. But as a landscape architect and as other built environmental profession, I think we need to lead this together. This is such an important, and for me as a landscape architect, I really believe that we need to work at par. We need to work with so many different systems. And when we think about this top down, right, we need to work with water governance, understand what is the obstacle that fix things as the way it is as a city. And we need to work with people. And working with people is actually part of how we work. So when I confronting with top down and bottom up, I really practice for like 10 years. And this is my 10 years realization that I need to work both from top down and bottom up. But what I realized after working for 10 years on this field, I feel that we need to shift top down and bottom up this direction and go together. We need to make the verticality on to the horizontal way and work top down, bottom up at the same time at par. And the most important thing is youth. All of my team, 12 of us, are still youth. Working with young people is so important. They have so much power. We are relentlessly like fighting to make all this thing possible. And next generation of designer, you are the answer. And I feel that including them is a must because they're gonna tackle this problem longer than me. I probably have not so many years ahead of me as a landscape architect, but they will have more. So it's so important for me to show the possibility. This is possible. Your ambitions, the thing that you're longing for, fighting for is possible, but you need an action to put this thing together. And landscape architecture give you the tools to make what you wish for, what you're shouting for, what you're fighting for, tangible.